Awesome. So we have a second guest in the live interview panel, and we have Dan Thomas with us today. He is the Communications Director and Spokesperson for the President of the United Nations General Assembly for the 71st session. And we are glad to have you here, and we would like to hear more about your work regarding communications and the 2030 Agenda implementations and SDGs, how we can communicate them worldwide. And, well, I left you to introduce yourself as well.
Well, thank you, Rosie. So, yeah, I'm working for the President of the General Assembly for the 71st session, His Excellency Peter Thompson. He's from Fiji. He's an interesting gentleman. He started off in life as a development worker. He was in Fiji digging pit latrines, putting water systems into remote villages. So he's really come from a very hands-on development background. He has a degree in development work as well. And now he's the President of the General Assembly. And his priority is to really get movement on these on the 2030 Agenda and these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. That's his top priority. We have a team in his cabinet who are dedicated to seeing action happen, to catalyzing good communications and advocacy around these goals, and encouraging all actors, governments, civil society, business leaders, to really embrace these goals, make it part of their national plans, part of their business plans, to ensure that we can achieve this agenda and get this agenda off to a flying start, so that we can make early progress and we can see sustainable development happening around the world.
Wow, that's amazing. And talking about communication, we need to also think about effective communication, how we can deliver the message to people and they can understand it and interiorize it actually to keep the movement. What are the main challenges, but also the proposals, the proposals that the UN is given worldwide in order to effectively communicate the SDGs in the different levels, in different constituencies? How are you working on this, and what are the advices you can give?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, this is one of the challenges, and one of the challenges that the President has set for us, and all of the UN, is to make sure that people around the world fully understand what the 2030 Agenda is, what it represents to them, and to understand that this is a master plan for our survival, really, on this planet. There's you know, 1 billion plus people living on less than $1.25 a day, and extreme poverty still here in the 21st century. That's wrong. We've got to make the world less inequitable in that way. 800 million people going to bed hungry every night. This is completely unacceptable in a world of plenty in which we live. And so communicating these goals, this opportunity to everybody around the world, is really one of the challenges. It's a huge communication challenge which all of us in the UN system, with all our partners, are working on. And in fact, this event, this global festival of ideas for sustainable development, this is one way, one enterprising and innovative way to bring people together, to engage them in this discussion about the goals, help people understand what they are, help people understand what the different tracks are, help them engage in the ones that they're particularly interested in, and to make sure that there's action you know, at a community level, at a regional level, and of course at the national level. Because if people don't know about the goals, ordinary people, if they don't know about the goals, they won't be encouraging their governments to make sure that they're implemented, they're part of the national plans. It was 193 governments who unanimously adopted this agenda in September 2015 in the General Assembly at the United Nations. So it's a master plan for our survival on this planet. It's been unanimously agreed. It's a universal agenda. And so our challenge is to make sure that everybody knows about these goals. We've set ourselves the challenge in the UN of reaching 2 billion people with basic information about the goals. And in order to do that, we want to activate over 1 million champions who can act in their own communities to get the word out, to engage people, and make sure that these goals, these wonderful goals, these icons that we have, can be understood by everybody. It's a huge challenge, and something we need to do in all languages of the world. I think when we were chatting earlier, you made the point about the Spanish language. The UN operates in 6 languages, but clearly there are people in the world who don't speak those languages, and we've got to make sure that these goals and the 2030 agenda is accessible to everybody in their own language. And that's one of the challenges, that's one of the jobs that we have to do better at in terms of engaging people and making sure that they have the understanding so that they can really not only take action themselves to implement this sustainable development agenda, but also keep the pressure on their local governments and their national governments to implement these goals according to the timetable.
Wow, that's amazing. So we talk about not just effective communication, but also inclusive communication to achieve the 2030 agenda. So then, do you think communication or inclusive communication at this point it's being developed in different countries in order to promote the agenda? Is the UN national offices this strategy for inclusive communication?
Absolutely. This is the number one priority, I would say, for the entire UN system. All my colleagues around the world, we have 65 UN information centers around the world. We have agencies and funds and programs, UNICEF, UNHCR, ILO. They're all around the world. They're in almost every country of the world. All of my colleagues in the UN system, we're all doing our best to get the word out. We are branding our products and materials. We're on social media talking about it. We're here today talking about it here in Bonn at the Global Festival of Ideas for Sustainable Development. These are all ways to engage people, to try and get the word out. But it's really just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to be our partners, our civil society partners, our business partners who have huge reach in terms of audience and customers and shareholders. It's by really engaging our partners that we're going to succeed in engaging the whole world in this agenda. And that's the challenge. That's what we need to do, because until everybody is aware of this agenda, engaged in this agenda, and making it a personal agenda as well, this won't be easy and may not even be possible. So we've really got to communicate this agenda and make sure everybody's engaged and knows what they need to do.
And something that I actually remember when you were talking about how the national chapters of the UN are networking and partnering with local stakeholders. I remember the UN national chapter in Peru. They actually network with a local civil society organization, and they translate the SDGs in Quechua. That is the native language in Peru, and that was for us a big step forward, you know, because it's not just the agenda of the community or the biggest community that speaks Spanish, but also to those small communities who do not speak Spanish, but they also want to be part of sustainable development. So I think that's amazing. I don't know if you have something maybe to say about it.
Well, I think, I mean, one of the goals, one of the overarching goals, is to leave no one behind. And so many people who are really in need of being uplifted by this agenda, so many of those people are not in the capital city. They're not perhaps from the majority community in their own country. They're being left behind in their own communities, in their own country. It's important that we reach them with this agenda, make them part of it, include everybody in achieving these agendas, these goals, because without that inclusion, you're absolutely right, it's not going to be achieved, and people will be left behind. So that's, I think language is very much a part of the challenge that we face. And luckily, I mean, these days with social media, with the World Wide Web, there's incredible opportunity for volunteers. I mean, the UN has something like 500,000 volunteers around the world. These are people, professional people with skills and experience who have dedicated some of their time to helping the UN achieve our goals and our mission. And one of the things those volunteers are doing is doing things like translating the goals into local languages, working in communications, working with their local communities to achieve this agenda, to get the word out, to engage people.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's also amazing to know that people worldwide can actually start partnering with UN, can actually collaborate with UN in order to not only communicate, but start educating people regarding SDGs. The next question would be, it's regarding actually the Global Festival. What do you see here in the festival the Global Festival of Ideas for Sustainable Development that you haven't seen in another event for sustainable development?
I think it's, I've just arrived this morning from New York, so I'm still getting a feel for it, but I think there's a real buzz here. There's wonderful displays. We've got a great sort of exhibition here. But I think the most important thing about a festival like this is that people are coming together. People from the host country, from Germany, from around Europe, but around the world. You were talking to a Kenyan gentleman earlier from civil society. People are coming here to exchange ideas, to have conversations. You know, we can change the world with a very few number of committed people. And it's forums like this where ideas can be exchanged, where people can share what's working in their community with other people who are working in different communities. This is, I think, the beauty of a festival where people come together around a specific issue like the Sustainable Development Goals.
Wow, that's amazing. And taking a little bit of advantage of your expertise on communication, what will be your suggestions for the different stakeholders who want to advocate and want to communicate the SDGs in different parts of the world?
My number one suggestion to anybody who's interested in this agenda is make it your agenda. This isn't the UN's agenda. This isn't your national government's agenda. This is everybody's agenda, a universal agenda. Everybody has a role to play in this. And so anybody, whoever they are, whether they're a leader from their community or a young person who just is interested in making a difference in their community and in the world, anybody can take this agenda and make it their own and advocate for it. Everybody has the right to take these logos and tell people about them, to communicate about them, to engage people in discussions about how they can be achieved locally and regionally and nationally. So that's my main advice, is make it your own. It's something that is shared. This is a global good. Everybody has access. Anyone who's got access to the World Wide Web can download these logos, the information, and make it their own.
Thank you very much. And the last question will be, how can you summarize in only one word the Global Festival of Ideas?
Disruptive.
Disruptive. Okay, thank you very much for being with us in the live interviews. And I thank you very much for the work we do with the UN. And we will be looking forward to see you in the General Assembly this year. And it was amazing to hear from you today.
Thank you very much, Rosie.
Thank you.